So, hey, thanks for joining us, everybody, today, and thanks for joining us, Adam. Today, we are talking about the transport industry, which is a really unique vertical with really unique challenges. And I love having the opportunity to sort of stop and talk about really specific considerations based on verticals. Not every vertical is deeply unique. Some of them are pretty standard. Um, but transport itself has a ton of really unique considerations. Um, so let's start by doing a quick round of introductions. My name is Aaron Smith. I'm the director of the Information Security Consulting Group here at SmartTech.
Yeah, and I'm Adam Anderson. I am an account executive here at SmartTech 24/7, specializing in the transport industry.
Perfect. Thanks, Adam. Okay, so let's talk about, let's get right into this. We've only got about 20 minutes, so I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk pretty detailed. Um, Transport is a really interesting vertical because it's so OT focused in a lot of different ways. And because it's OT focused and because of the way that these industries work, it's really, really challenging to take OT systems offline. Because of that, securing them without disrupting those services can be a huge challenge. How are you seeing organizations going about securing those OT systems without really disrupting day-to-day activities?
Yeah, it's a great question because security and continuity are two sides of the same coin. So operational technology, things like signaling systems, vehicle telemetry, airport baggage systems, or maritime control, they can't just be switched off for a patch window. These systems were built for reliability, not cybersecurity. So they often run legacy platforms, which weren't designed to face today's connected world. The key, therefore, is to focus on visibility, segmentation, and simulation. Firstly, visibility, you can't protect what you don't know have. Asset discovery and continuous monitoring of IT and OT networks is fundamental. So many organizations still find they have hundreds of unmonitored devices communicating with control systems. And that's a massive blind spot. The second would be segmentation, creating clear separation between IT and OT environments through secure gateways like DMZs. The goal isn't to isolate forever here. It's to control the flow of information. So your security updates can be carried out in a staged, non-disruptive way. And the third, which is a wee bit more innovative, a wee bit more out there, is simulation using digital twinning. Digital twin is essentially a live virtual model of your physical infrastructure. By mirroring your systems in a secure sandbox environment, you can test cybersecurity measures, simulate the effect of patches and configurations, and even model attack scenarios without touching your live network. So, for example, a rail operator can use a digital twin put on their signaling network to test how new intrusion detection rules behave before applying it to the operational system. It's an approach that drastically reduces downtime, improves confidence that changes won't break the critical services on that network, and it's proactive. It's security that respects operational safety. So, in summary, really, asset visibility and network segmentation are crucial in today's environment. These are fundamental, and I would keep an eye out on the horizon for digital twinning environments to harden your OT networks and keep the trains running and the planes in the sky.
Yeah, so digital twinning is a really interesting concept, and I think it's pretty widely used in the transport industry today. There are a lot of leaders in the industry who are pretty heavily using digital twinning. So one of the questions that I have is digital twinning means new assets, and new assets mean new surface area. So that means new threats. So as you see it today, what do you see as the biggest cybersecurity threats to the transport industry? And how do you think those threats are starting to change as we see change in the environment?
Yeah, we're seeing a real shift in the threat landscape for transport. So the traditional threats, your ransomware, phishing, denial of service, they're still there, but they're evolving into much more sophisticated multi-stage attacks. Instead of just encrypting data, attackers are targeting operational disruption, halting systems, corrupting logistics data, or compromising control networks. So ransomware as a service now makes these attacks they make them accessible to less skilled actors. We've seen incidents where ticketing systems, logistics management, or even passenger Wi-Fi becomes the initial entry point to much larger intrusions. Um, the second big trend is supply chain compromise. So transport depends on thousands of vendors, like from software providers to maintenance contractors, and attackers know that's often the easiest route in. One compromised vendor update can propagate into hundreds of endpoints across an airline or port being compromised. The third, as I say it, would be connected. The explosion, as you touched on, the explosion of connected and autonomous systems, vehicles, drones, IoT sensors. Each new device on that network, it increases the attack surface. These devices often have long lifespans. They're built to be resilient, but they have limited patchability. To link it back to the digital twinning point, we're starting to see digital twins used for threat modeling. So by building a digital replica on the network, organizations can simulate what happens if a ransomware outbreak hit a specific part of the infrastructure. But there's a flip side to that as well, and you need to be careful with that. As twins become more integrated, they themselves become potential targets. So if a digital twin is connected in real time to live operational data, then compromising the twin could provide attackers with really valuable insights on how the real system behaves itself. So I think the key message here is as technology evolves, so do the attack vectors. So we need to treat digital twins and connected assets as first-class citizens in cybersecurity architecture. They need to be protected, monitored, and governed like any other operational system.
That's an interesting point. So one of the things that I think we don't see a lot of is we don't see a lot of cybersecurity tools that directly address concepts like digital twins.
Yeah, great question again. Look, when we look at major cyber incidents across the transport sector, from shipping lines to airports, one thing becomes clear. Even well-protected organizations can be disrupted. And we've seen that countless examples across the board in this last year alone. The big differentiator isn't when the attack happens, but how quickly you detect, contain, and recover from it. We've seen repeatedly that organizations who fare the best have end-to-end visibility across their IT and OT environments, combined with a structured response plan that's regularly tested. So in the context of smart tech 24/7, we often talk about resilience as life cycle, not a single event. And that life cycle includes stuff like detection and response, powered by real-time threat monitoring and behavior analytics, containment using automated playbooks to isolate compromised assets, recovery through tested backup, restoration, and communication plans, and learning by performing post-incident reviews to strengthen cyber defenses. So many organizations still operated with fragmented IT and OT teams using different tools, different data sources, and sometimes different incident workflows. And that's a huge challenge because the attacker doesn't respect those boundaries. And things like our Vision X platform helps close that gap by providing unified threat detection across hybrid environments, on-prem, cloud, OT. So anomalies can be spotted early, even if they originate in less monitored systems like remote depots or IoT devices. Another lesson learned would be that speed matters. So automated response actions like isolating suspicious endpoints or revoking compromised credentials, that can cut down containment time from hours to minutes. That's critical in transport, where every minute of downtime counts. It affects schedules, passengers, reputation. So I'd say, finally, true resilience depends on preparation. We work with clients to run incident response simulations, red teaming, and recovery testing. The goal is to make your cybersecurity resilience plan not just a document, but muscle memory.
Okay, so that's a great response. And I have some questions about sort of the broader scope of that. Look, we've seen really massive impact from OT heavy organizations. I'll use the Jaguar Land Rover breach as a really great example, right? Um, they just put out a report that said it directly impacted the GDP of the nation, right? That's an enormous impact, right? From a perspective that we don't normally see. We don't really talk very often about cybersecurity incidents at that scale. So it's interesting to see, particularly in an OT heavy industry. And OT heavy industries are also very, these days, they're coming under the auspices of things like DORA, right? They're becoming much more significant in the push for resilience. But part of that challenge is relying on suppliers, right? Suppliers and partners and vendors. How do organizations mitigate the risk that bringing those vendors and partners in adds to their environment?
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Look, third-party risk has become one of the most pressing cybersecurity issues for transport organizations. Um, from maintenance providers to software vendors and cloud partners, every connected supplier extends an attack surface. So recent incidents have shown how a single compromised partner can cascade into a major operational outage. And because transport relies so heavily on interdependent systems, your ticketing, scheduling, logistics, billing, the potential impact is amplified there. The most effective strategy starts with visibility and governance. You need a clear living inventory of your suppliers, who they are, what they have access to, and how critically they are to your operations. Smart Tech, we provide this through continuous monitoring and risk scoring of third-party activity, using advanced analytics and threat intelligence. We can identify abnormal patterns in vendor connections, such as new IPs, credential reuse, or unusual data transfers, before they escalate into severe incidents. The second piece is access control and segmentation. So vendors should only have access to what you absolutely need them to have access to for the duration that they need it. So we'd recommend short-lived monitored credentials and strong MFA enforcement across all external connections. Our managed services integrate with identity and access management as well. So that enforces least privilege automatically, and to log all vendor interactions for audit and forensic review, which I think is very helpful for transport customers. The third element is obviously the compliance element, as you touched on before. Many transport organizations now fall under frameworks like NIS2 and ISO 27001, which requires structured third-party risk management. So our compliance and governance teams, they can help clients align their supplier oversight to those standards, defining clear security clauses, breach notification requirements, and right to audit provisions in contracts as well. Finally, the best mitigation, I think, is collaboration. So we encourage our clients to treat vendors as partners in resilience, not just suppliers. That means sharing threat intelligence, conducting joint incident response exercises, and validating that your partner's recovery plans align with your own. We also provide threat intelligence as a service that can be extended to key suppliers, ensuring that everyone in the ecosystem benefits from early warnings and threat insights.
Okay, nice. Good answer. So let me ask you, there's a lot on the horizon for cybersecurity, right? The technology right now is changing in a really rapid way. And I think, of course, the technology that everybody sees at the forefront is AI, right? We see that really significantly. So my question is, whether it's AI or whether it isn't, where do you see the most interesting changes in cybersecurity technology that are relevant to the transport industry?
I think across the board, and it's not just confined to transport, is yes, the AI piece, but the arrival of quantum as well. And I think that's really a game changer when it comes to it. It's terrifying, to be honest with you, when it comes to both cyber attacks. But also on the flip side, there's, it's always dialectic with these things. I think, the other side is the rollout of quantum in efforts to protect those systems as well. Um, so it's as always, you know, staying ahead of the curve, keeping your eyes on the horizon for that arrival, and once it is worked out by people much smarter than me, um, then that is going to be that absolutely massive for stuff like the transport industry. I feel like because of quantum's nature itself, the first people to have it will be threat actors acting on behalf of rogue states as well. So I think it's becoming increasingly more important to sort of um, look to sort of government almost to make sure that they're ahead of the curve and up to date with what's going on in these other parts of the world. And there's it's a balance as well, as these attacks are being rolled out, we're able to protect against them as well. So that would be my 2 cents on it, and where I find it most interesting where this is all going.
It's a really good point, and I think quantum is a massively interesting field. One, because of all the technical challenges, right, of getting there. But secondly, I think from a transport perspective, one of the problems that quantum solves dramatically better and dramatically faster than traditional computing is routing, right?
Yeah,
Understanding routing and routing efficiency. So it's one of those things that I think you're absolutely right. Quantum is going to be that one of the industries that's truly going to benefit the most from it is going to be things like transport industries, right?
yeah,
Organizations that are tracking large amounts of things moving in lots of different directions and trying to find, look, the environment is really competitive these days. So they're looking for every little piece to increase, margin, right? Reduce
yeah,
costs and improve the business model.
yeah.
And those tools are going to be absolutely massive in that field.
Oh yeah,
100%
totally.
agreed.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think there's some other interesting pieces as well. One of my favorites is sort of homomorphic encryption, which I think is a really unusual technology that I think doesn't see a lot of play outside of finance right now from the perspective of looking into it. But I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be really, really significant um, for things like pay changes and just simple matters like improving the security of obfuscating
Mhm.
purchases and so on and so forth. It's going to be dramatically interesting. So it's one of those things that I'm really curious to see where it goes. Um, it looks like we're just about out of time, Adam. I want to let you know that I really appreciate your time today. And I
No,
want to take a moment to let everyone know that we are about to have all of the new information put out for Smart Tech 247's Zero Day Con. Head it up on LinkedIn, take a look at Zero Day Con. It's coming next year. It's going to be absolutely massive this year. And there's going to be a ton to see and do. Thank
definitely
you so
can't
much for
wait.
your time, Adam.
Thanks, Aaron. All the best.